Tell me about
I'm going to butcher
story.
the story, by the way, just the
Go for it.
disclaimer, but essentially this guy that sells like light bulbs joins a group and shows up, contributes, gives, and then because he's in such a niche category, he sells like light bulbs, but not just any light bulbs, it's for some factories or some large facilities. And so he just shows up and like year after year contributes, maybe gets a little bit of referral action here and there, but it takes years to get this ginormous contract that lands him some multi-million-dollar deal, right? Okay, before we get into the next episode, I just want to say a personal thanks to Tom for supporting this episode and the challenge in general.
Dave, I absolutely love what you're doing. Great to be a part of it, and best of luck with the challenge.
Hello and welcome to the 10 Million in 10 Years podcast. I'm David, your host, and I'm joined by Alison Poulter today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Your first podcast ever.
It is. You've got to pop that cherry at some point, don't you?
Yeah. And so we're going to talk mostly about BNI today, aren't we?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So give us the rundown, I guess the overview for anyone that hasn't heard about BNI. What is it? What does it stand for?
BNI is Business Network International, started 39 years ago in the US by a guy who thought there's got to be a better way of finding referrals, and so Ivan Meisner started BNI over there. It's been in New Zealand for 20-ish years, 23 years, something like that off the top of my head, and it's just a great way of doing networking in a structured way that works. Yeah,
great summary. It works, right?
Totally.
That's the non-disputable fact here.
Yes, it works. If you put the effort in, it works, just like anything.
Who do you think it works best for, specifically?
That is a bit of a loaded question.
Either personality-wise, category, types of profession.
That is a mixed bag, because anybody that is in business or as an employee in a sales-ish type of role, BNI is really good for, because ideally you're there to get referrals, but also the personal growth you get along the way. So, and as for personality types, we have seen introverts come along, we have seen people with stutters, we have seen people that, not many people are like public speaking, but they come along and they feel comfortable enough to tell their story about their business, and then away they go. So personality type is a really tricky one. There's got to be people that want to try and grow their business in some way or capacity.
Yeah. No, that's one reason I rejoined, actually, was more for the practice at public speaking, getting to talk for 60 seconds a week.
Yeah.
And it's nerve-wracking.
It is. I remember my first BNI, crikey, along many breakfasts ago.
Yes.
And I was a sales rep. And I came along and I was really nervous and I didn't sleep the night before. And lo and behold, I walk in the room. A client had invited me. I walk in the room and I knew 3 or 4 people in the room. And one of them was my brother-in-law. And I said, "What are you doing in here?" And so, that's a long time ago. But it is nerve-wracking thinking about what you're going to say. But once you get over that initial fear factor, and let's be honest, it's never as bad as what you think it's going to be, then BNI's got a structure that you learn to figure out how to talk about your business and ask for referrals and who is your ideal client, and actually for you as a member to focus on what you're trying to get.
A big thank you to Casbolt's Motorcycle for sponsoring the podcast, authorized dealer of Ducati and Honda motorcycles. Yeah, I think that's a good reminder. I think a lot of members tend to just show up and not have a detailed plan on what to say that week, but I think that's almost a lost opportunity if you don't have some intentionality on that 60 seconds. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah,
totally. And we go back to training and say, look, come up with 10 things that are in your business. So 10 things that you offer that whether it's product or service or whatever, how you go about things, write those 10 things down. So spend an hour figuring it out, chatting to your mates, friends, clients, whatever, write them all down, and then use those 10 as the next 10 weeks of 60 seconds. And then when you get to week 11, start with week 1 again.
Yeah, nice.
And somebody goes, what happens if I've said that before? Can you remember what somebody 3 weeks ago said next to you? David, here's a question. Here's an element of honesty.
Yeah.
Who were you sitting next to 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
What did they say?
Yeah, totally.
And so there's power in repetition in saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
That gives you some flexibility. So if you have a new product come in or a service or an offering, you can certainly include that. But at least then you've done your homework. So that hour will suit you up for the year.
Yeah, totally. I also love the specificity, like when people have something really narrow, specific they're looking for. So like Darren mentioned he was looking for someone that knows people involved in regional airports for something that he was doing. And I'm like, I actually do know someone in Nelson Airport. So
it is, specificity is a tricky word to get your tongue around. But
it is a lot of syllables.
It is something that we try and say is, look, ask for that ideal referral. And when I was a member many moons ago, it was just saying, hey, look, I'm trying to get in front of this person who works here. I can't get past the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
How do I get in front of them? And a member around the table went, I play golf with him on Waiheke Island.
Totally.
Here's his personal number.
Yes.
And I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
He goes,
yeah.
I'll tell him I'm going to
Yes.
make the connection. I was like, great. So I got a chance to chat to this guy where there was no other way I was going to get in.
Yeah.
Now, I could have thrown out the name and nothing happened, but that's fine.
It's halfway there.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just don't know who the people in the room know. And that's the trick.
That's it, yeah. And I really like the spin-off on today's breakfast, today's meeting, how we're talking about the quality of relationships in the context of a relationship.
Yep.
And how important that is, like I've really been mindful of that lately with friends and layers, right? Like I've got a few people that I've just started hanging out with more and like, playing tennis with more, or like going away for the weekend or whatever. It's like that really increases the depth of that relationship.
Absolutely. So it's not just saying, I think referring back to the quote I was talking about this morning that I did my director's slot, was talking about it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's wrong. It's actually
it kind of is, right?
Yeah, because I know lots of people.
Yeah.
How well do I know them to know what their business is or their personality type or how I can help them? So
big spectrum, right?
Huge. So narrowing down, the 1,500, 2,000 people that you know that you see at school or you hang out with or whatever, but actually how well do you know them and how can you actually say, hey, I know somebody that can help solve that for you.
Yeah, totally.
It's
I love
huge.
that. Yeah, so interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any numbers or stats around the returns or the revenue generated per chapter or anything of that nature?
I'll give you the Canterbury stats because I know them better off the top of my head. So in Canterbury we have currently 21 chapters and we do about $28 million in what we call thank you for closed business every year, and that's the information that's recorded by members. Now we know that's not entirely accurate because some people forget to record that data, so you might be looking at 35 million a year. Now if you break that down, that's absolutely great, and I know your chapter that you're part of I think did nearly 4 million last year, and that's because you guys are just doing the numbers and you're doing the mahi, and it's absolutely proving. So, and it depends, because somebody who does a Warren of Fitness, they're easy to refer to and suddenly, but the dollar value's not there, whereas if you've got a referral for a builder, then the sky's the limit on that. So it kind of depends on what industry you're in and what you're offering, but we do know that there's about 75-80% of members stay on as a retention rate, which means we must be doing something right. And as for those that leave, I've had 3 or 4 that are pregnant and due to have babies. Good luck to those ones that are coming up. Or family circumstances, or they move out of town. So it's hard to know for those that don't renew for non-personal reasons as to why they've left. And sometimes it doesn't work because there's a sense of commitment. You've got to be there every week. And, there's exceptions for that if you're sick or whatever. But you need to be there and put the effort in, and then the return on investment happens. We know that year 1 as a member is different to year 2. Year 2, you get twice as many referrals because then people have used you, have understood you a little bit more, get to know you better, feel more comfortable referring their network.
Totally.
Because I'm not about to suddenly go, hey, here's my client list, do you want it? Because
100%.
It's risky for my profile.
Very, very risky. Yeah.
So it's we're just knowing, and that happens. So it's really important to get that member past that first year and go, right, now you understand that, right, let's really up your game.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. I mean, it makes total sense. Yeah. Okay.
Hope that helps answer that.
And so
one.
I guess I was just doing the maths in my head there. So if you've got roughly an average of, what would be the average member group size?
Somewhere between 20 and 25 is average.
20, 25 and about a mil or 1.5 per chapter roughly.
Of what's being recorded.
Yeah, right, gotcha. Yeah. So that's decent. That's a decent amount of revenue. Yeah.
And the more effort you put in by getting to know the other members, and having those one-to-ones outside of work and going for a mountain bike ride or whatever it is, the more you get to know them, the more likely they are to pass your referral because they know you, they like you, and they can say, hey, he's a good cookie, give him a buzz.
100%. Yeah,
right? He's expecting your call. I made some connections this morning, so we had a visitor this morning who did shower cleans, and I said to him, I know some people that have short-term accommodation and they are going to need shower cleans because it's a pain to do. So I text this person number. Anyway, long story short, they've already made the connection, and it's
Wow.
been 3 hours or something since the meeting.
That's pretty satisfying, right?
It's very cool. So
Yeah.
hopefully that guy joins.
I like that. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like, I naturally like to connect people, and so it's really cool.
Sometimes the answers are right there, but it's taking the time. And I could have just taken his card and then thought about it later. I thought, no, I'm going to do it now.
Now is good.
Got in my
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
Before I start the engine, I just go, cool, what
Yes.
were the things from the meeting? Ping, 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 ping,
Yeah,
ping. And then it's
yeah.
in somebody else's ball court to deal with.
Yeah, cool. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
It's easy once you get your head around it.
Yeah, and I think all these different layers of information help as well, like the 10-minute speaker this morning.
Yep.
So every member, just for information purposes, like every member goes around and does a 10-minute presentation. What is it, once every, I guess it depends on the group size.
Yeah, totally.
How frequently. But
Yeah, so your group's on 28, so it'll be every 28-ish weeks roughly.
Yeah.
And so you get to a year in there, and it's just a chance to educate the group more about what you do.
Yeah. So it was interesting with today's one, like despite doing a one-to-one with them yesterday, which I felt was quite inclusive, but then, my mind shifted toward this one referral from today that could be a large account.
Yeah, totally.
And it was just through one image in that slideshow.
Yep.
Right? And it's like,
And it's that simple. And it's the more you see people and the more you hear about the information, the more likely you are to think of them. And the reason why we say BNI works, and there's an accountability factor by that, by saying, hey, look, you need to come every week, and if you can't, send a substitute, all of that other stuff, is because if you're not seen there, you get forgotten. So I think there were 3 or 4 people away this morning. Can you remember who they were? Because you can't visualise them.
That's right.
So you're suddenly less likely to pass them a referral because subliminally they're not in your head.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people ask me, I was chatting to another school mum at Pick Up a couple of days ago, and I said, hey, what's happening? What are you up to? Sort of general chit chat. And she mentioned something, and I said, oh, I know some people that can help you with that. And they were people that I see at BNI when I'm there once a month in my director role. So I was like, oh yeah, cool, they're a nice person. I know who they are. Contact this person, this person, this person. I have others that are in similar industries, but I hadn't seen them for a while, so I immediately didn't think of them.
Totally.
If I sat down and went, who's in each chapter, how do I figure out who's what where, then yes, I'd connect it. But if they're not in your brain because you haven't seen them,
Yeah, no,
then
exactly.
forget it.
That's right.
Yeah, got to be seen to get the referral, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think the other thing that's really cool is the non-business referrals or benefits or spin-off from the group.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So we did a massive survey, and for those in Canterbury, it's easy to remember, pre and post earthquake, and this one was done just before the quakes. And to all BNI members, and asked them a whole bunch of questions about why they stay, what they love about it, all the rest of it. And referrals was number 3 reason as to why they're renewed. I can never remember 1 or 2, but it was something to do with, the sense of belonging to something, because running a business can be incredibly lonely no matter how many are on your team. So that sense, and also the other relationships, as you said, the friend circles, whether they join your football team, whatever it is, those other intangibles are huge, let alone public speaking, focusing on your business, learning other things from other business people. Like, that's massive. Like, that's a huge non-dollar value
Totally.
to add. And so that when you talk about ROI, are you talking strictly referrals or all the other stuff that comes with it?
Yeah, I think it's more of a time investment that I'm more interested in, meaning like the membership fee is relatively nominal.
Just not much.
Which, it's more about the time, right? Both the meeting time, but then also the other time to, as you say, do the one-to-ones.
Yep. But we only say, hey, do one-to-one a week, and that's going and having coffee or checking out somebody's work site or whatever, and you're just making those relationships stronger. So other than the meeting time, most of them are breakfast, some are at lunch, that couple of hours, what else, how else are you focusing on your business between 7 and 9 in the morning? And it really makes you concentrate. And the whole giver's gain and the karma and all the rest of it, of going and listening and purposely thinking, how can I help other people around the table? And if everybody does that collectively, you've seen it, it's huge. And you're right, the one-to-ones, but it's one of them a week. That's all you got to squeeze in, and there's plenty of other things we do with our time that we could reduce, but that's really powerful. If I make a really good connection with somebody over that one-to-one, I go, oh yeah, I've got a referral for you, this, and this. It's super powerful. And I remember several years ago when I was a member, and I had a one-to-one with a guy, and I had heard him do his 10-minute presentations several times, heard his 60 seconds every week. And I went on to one with him, and we were walking around Hagley Park, doing the walk and talk.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it was a great way of doing it. Spring, I remember. It was really yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah.
And walking around, I said, right, tell me the top 5 clients you're trying to get in front of.
Yeah.
So he was trying to get in front of procurement people, and that's what I was doing in my day job at the time. And I said, let's talk the top 5. Well, I knew 3 of them I could get him phone numbers for immediately, and a 4th one I'm like, I'm working on it with, I'm trying to get in there as well. And he's like, wow, I never thought to ask for those. And I was like, that's so important. And if I hadn't have had that one-to-one with him,
Yes.
I wouldn't have found those businesses for him.
Yes. Yep.
So I went out of my way to have a one-to-one, but it was nice, it was good mental health, all the rest of it, but then can tick that box and
Love
just
it.
say, hey, that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Out of the chapters that you're aware of,
Yes.
either in Canterbury or throughout New Zealand, are there any high-performing ones that are doing radically more thank you for closed business than the average?
We in Canterbury are absolutely nailing it. So in Auckland, they have twice as many chapters roughly than us, and very recently in the last 6 months, we finally had more thank you for closed business for the month than what Auckland did.
Right.
And Canterbury been working on that for years, because let's be honest, we always like to beat Auckland. But part of it is that Canterbury, we've gone through a lot. So we value the relationships. If you think of, the earthquakes 13 years ago, the unfortunate shooting incidents, all of this other stuff, COVID, all the rest of it, we understand the value of relationships. We really get it. And so we're more likely to help somebody grow their business or all that other stuff, regardless of what school you went to, and help each other from that point of view. And also as directors across the region, we've tried to remind our members, hey, please record your information. And so we statistically look better. And several times we've been in the top 100 regions globally.
Wow.
Canterbury have smashed it. And the first time it happened, we were like, what? And then it happened again the following month, and we're like, hey, and then we're like, we've figured it out.
Yeah.
It's because we're actually recording it, and because
Right.
we're doing the
Gotcha.
activity.
Yes.
And so of all the chapters, as you say, around the country, I think Canterbury's absolutely nailing it, and your chapter is one of the strongest chapters there are, and you do a lot of business together. But that's because you've got people in there that want to help each other, and that's a big difference. Every chapter I go to has got slightly different personalities. They're all trying to help each other though.
Yeah, cool. I like
yeah.
it. Yeah, it's interesting what you say before. If the last year number was, what did you say, 3 to 4 mil?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact details. I think you were really close to 4 million
So I
last
guess
year.
that in itself is radically more than the average.
Totally.
Yeah, okay.
So there's some chapters that do like 150, 200,000. They might be doing more,
Yes.
but not recording it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's kind of
It's
how
one
do you
metric,
judge it?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We can, as we say, we can only grow what we measure, and
Yes.
if the data's not there,
That's right.
we can't help.
Yeah, cool. What's next? What's the next evolution? Is there anything significant coming down the line in terms of the structure, or is it more refinement? I guess it's probably at the point now where it's just incremental improvement, right?
Yeah, it's
Better
been around for a
systems.
long time,
Yeah.
and they've done a lot of tests where, BNI is weekly. There was one chapter, and there's a really good podcast on it about a chapter that wanted to change to fortnightly because they reckon they knew each other. So they switched to fortnightly. This was in the US, and lo and behold, the wheels fall off, because if somebody isn't at that fortnightly meeting, you don't see them for a month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So eventually that chapter dissolved because it just wasn't working well enough. So there is power in the formula, and it's been fine-tuned over 39 years to be what it is. And some people don't like BNI because it's too structural, but it's there for a reason. And we sometimes refer to it as joining a gym. There's no point in joining a gym, paying the money to join the gym, to find you're not going and you're eating Maccas on the side, and you're not following what you're meant to be doing, and therefore you don't get your return on investment.
Yeah. Great analogy.
It's huge.
Love that. Yeah, it really is similar to a gym. And the more you put in, the more you get out.
Totally. And
Yeah.
it sounds cliche but it's true.
Most cliches are though, right?
It's like blindingly obvious.
Yeah.
So there's a thing called VCP in BNI, and it's called visibility, credibility, profitability. So you have to be visible, and that means turning up to the room and being engaging with what's happening in the room when you have your meeting, doing one-to-ones, being on the leadership team when your time's up, all of those other things. You've got to be visible, which then increases your credibility because you've shown up. You've been there. You've been the person that said they were going to do what they were going to do. And that then means referrals and profitability. And it is that simple. So, it's a really simple thing when you look at it, but it doesn't work if you don't do it right.
No, that's right. That's right, exactly. You must have so many good stories from BNI over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Like so many good wins, so many good non-business related cool stories.
One of my best friends is... I met her at a BNI function. Her husband was in my BNI group. And I'd met her a couple of times at functions. And then I went along to a Zumba class back in the day. And she was there. And I was like, hey, how are you? Good, da la la. And then, boom, what do you know?
Hanging out.
15 years later.
Yeah. So good.
It's like there are so many stories. We've had some before where, this was in Rangiora. So two single people met at BNI and were part of the group for a while and then eventually fell in love and they have a BNI baby.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool, right?
That is cool.
Yeah, so we know that North Island as well, there's middle-aged user couple that met there and they're now married and all sorts. So there's all sorts of
stuff,
weird things that come out of it.
Yeah, I'm still friends with people from Avenues from the first time I was a member. That was 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, totally. Because you made good connections with them.
Yeah.
And you got to know them and you gelled with them. And we always say in each chapter, there's some people that you just gel with a bit more because of personality, life cycle.
Naturally, right? Yeah.
But we also say it's equally important to try and build relationships with those that you don't naturally align with because they're another source of referrals.
Yes.
And make the effort to speak to those people so that and understand what they do and go from there. And it's hard to put yourself out of there and you turn up to the meeting in the morning and you're like, hey David, having a chat to somebody and all the rest of it because they're your mate, but actually you've got to put the effort into the ones that aren't your mates and build that relationship. And then they in turn become mates as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's often where the magic can occur, right? Because you really don't know someone at a deeper level unless you do the one-to-one and you don't know what's going on, right? There could be many things happening behind the scenes, right? They could be on a board for something that you're trying to...
Exactly.
Who knows, right?
And that's what we say, those one-to-ones are really important to find out more information.
Yes.
About what they're into. So here's a trick question. Have you gone on a one-to-one and done what's called the gains sheet?
The gains sheet? Not recently, no.
BNI are great for the acronym. So gains stands for goals. So you ask the other person, what are their goals?
Yeah.
What are their accomplishments? What have they done to this point in time to get to where they are? What are they interested in? Which is always a good question because that can be loaded. Interest. Network for N.
Yeah.
So what other networks are they part of? Are they part of a charity, sports club, office, whatever it is?
Yeah.
And then S is skills. What skills do they bring, personal skills, to what they do?
That's cool.
Yeah, so asking those questions is great and definitely asking the interest in networks is really interesting. And you find out all sorts of weird and wonderful things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a small town, but it's also much bigger when you start digging into different parts of the community.
Well, you don't know everybody. Christchurch is what, 450,000?
That's a lot of people, right?
Right.
A lot of people.
And you can walk down the street and not bump into anybody, or you can go to the supermarket and find 6 people that you know.
Yes.
So BNI helps you build those relationships and be stronger.
Yeah.
And be brave enough to have the chat with the school mum and say, hey, what are you up to?
Totally.
And give you that courage to do that.
Yeah. What would you say to anyone that's not a member? Maybe has heard of BNI, maybe hasn't. What would you say to them? If they're in business or
Just
in a sales-related role. Come to work, right?
It's a laugh. Come along, have a cool breakfast, chat to some people who are all pretty positive but also realistic.
Yeah.
We always say in BNI there's a chance to just say what's going on. You would have seen that this morning with one member saying some stuff about personal circumstances. So it's got that vulnerability to actually say some of that stuff, which I think is super powerful in this day and age.
For sure.
And just come along, experience it. There's no commitment. Just have fun on a Thursday morning with your group, right?
Totally, yeah. And what about finding a chapter? What would be the suggestion on finding a chapter?
To be honest, call one of us, our name's all over the place. They can contact me. I can
Right.
help coordinate. I look after 5 directly, but I'm also in close contact with the other directors looking after the
yeah,
rest.
cool.
And then we just go, hey, what day works for you? What part of town?
Oh, yeah, cool.
What industry you're in, so it
Yeah.
doesn't clash with somebody already in a group.
Okay, cool.
Please don't contact me if you're a real estate agent, a lawyer, or accountant. We don't have any vacancies anywhere. But, we work together as a team, and I think that's really strong. It's something that, again, regionally, we've always done. All the directors have got a message thread, and we chat. We go, hey, I've got a sparky. Which group can
Right.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the other regions, they don't do that.
Right.
And we're all about helping each other, right?
Yeah.
I help you, you help me.
Oh,
It's all
totally.
the giver's gain.
Yeah. It's a good tagline.
It's so, again, it's the cheesy line, but it's there.
It's good to apply that to other parts of life too, don't you think?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, it's my tagline for this year actually. Be generous with generous people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just be kind.
Be kind. Just be nice.
Let the person out in traffic in front of you. It's not going to make any difference.
Totally,
right?
right? I know.
You're standing in the queue at the checkout, you got 2 items, go in front of me, I've got a trolley.
Yeah, it's all good, right?
Good karma,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. What about the international thing? So I was in Brisbane late last year, and I was like, I was keen to go to a chapter, but I just couldn't quite align my schedule with one in the right area.
Yeah, totally. That happens all the time.
Do you reckon the suggestion would be to contact one of the regional directors in that case? If
I'd
you're traveling?
contact the national director and go from there.
Oh, yeah, sweet. Yeah.
So I've done it. I went to the UK a couple of years ago now, and I was like, okay, I want to go visit a chapter while I'm over here.
Yeah.
Got jet lag, might as well get up early and make the most of it.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of finding one on a day in the place where I was.
Yes. Yep.
So I found one, went along, and they were like, oh, you're a Kiwi. Da-da-da.
Cool.
I was like, let's just go with it. And, what do you got to say? I don't know. Let's do a group selfie. And,
Cool.
It didn't really matter, but it was good to see how another chapter in another country operates.
Yeah, totally.
And we do know some people that have gone to non-English speaking countries and have gone and visited, and the chapter's been really welcoming, and
Wow.
half of them will speak English.
Yeah.
So that they can include the Kiwi in on the
Very
conversation.
cool.
It's really fun.
That's a nice little soft benefit of being a part of BNI.
Yeah, totally.
Because when you're traveling, like what a great way to interact with the local community.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to be a sales rep, and Nelson and Blenheim was part of my sales territory, and I thought, well, when I'm up there for 2 or 3 days, I can either have breakfast in the hotel room by myself, or I can go to a BNI group.
Why not? Yeah.
So you go to the BNI group and
Yeah.
you chat with
Yeah,
20 other people.
Totally.
Find
How good.
It wasn't necessarily about finding a referral. If I
No.
did, it was a bonus.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I got a slightly better breakfast and a box of cereal in the hotel, and got to chat to some other people.
Well, you can meet one good connection, right?
That's all it
One
takes.
person that you stay in touch with and form a relationship with. How good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's those little things that can happen on a non-regional basis.
Yeah.
And the world is your oyster from that point of view.
Yeah.
Whether you want to drag your family along to that, or you want to if you're away on holiday and you want to escape the family for a breakfast, go to BNI one.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I don't remember any international visitors for the Avenues chapter.
There have been some that have
yeah.
come over here, and it's all just part of it. Quite often we get queries from overseas. I think there was a German director that was moving over here with his family, and he had contacted BNI and said, hey, look, I need X, Y, Z. I'm moving to Christchurch. I need help.
Yeah.
And so we teed him up with a property manager and which schools were going to be in the zone that he was thinking of, and where his wife was going to be working, and like all of those other things. So that kind of stuff's really cool.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of members that are now doing their big OE. So obviously they'll cease to be a member here. But I'm like, hey, don't forget BNI's global. If you move to another country and don't know anybody...
What a great start.
Right?
Yeah.
Get to know some people. If you're in a position where you have got a job and you're just trying to expand your network, otherwise you're just hanging out with your office colleagues.
Yeah.
And what happens if you don't like them socially?
Yeah.
So it's a big part of it.
What's the average age? Do you know that?
No, we don't collect age data. I would have said we've had somebody who was 18 before became a president. Very good.
Cool.
But generally we don't find many people under that. And oldest, that's a question. Probably in their 70s. I don't know. It's a real mixture, because the other thing is BNI forces you by default to mix with people that aren't your same age or life cycle.
Totally.
And so there's huge power in that.
I think so, yeah.
And we've tried it before with groups that are like, we used to call them young professional type stuff. But actually, that's great, and they've got energy. but sometimes they don't have all the answers.
True.
You know, they're all young entrepreneurs. Great. What about mixing with somebody who's been there, done that, and by the way, has some good advice, not necessarily always good advice, but it's a mixture.
Yeah.
You know, it forces you to mix with people that have got pets or been around or different parts of the city and just different life
Just different,
experience,
right? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, I was doing a one-to-one recently with one of the members, and I was just like, wow, this is quite different. And it's not what I was expecting.
Yep.
I was very surprised. I was like, wow, you sort of see someone do their 60 seconds every week and might maybe say hello to them, but to actually sit down and learn about their personality and other interests and where they're at, it's like, that's really interesting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It forces you to do it.
Yeah. Be interesting to know the average age. Like, if you had to guess, would it be around like mid-40s?
See, I still in my head think I'm in my 20s and I'm not. So you think, oh yeah, they're quite young, well they're quite old. I'm like, damn, I'm in that category. I would have said if they're an employee, they might be in their 20s or 30s.
Yes.
If they have their own business, they might be in their late 30s to late 50s. At a guess.
At a guess, yeah.
But that just kind of depends on who they are. We don't ask that information because it's irrelevant.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Do you reckon there's a sweet spot for the best time to join BNI in terms of business life cycle?
Interesting. We've had quite a few members join that are just fresh to business, like brand spanking. We've had one that's had her 1 year anniversary of being in business. She joined when her business was like 3 or 6 weeks young, right? Like fresh.
Baby. Yeah.
She goes, I got this idea, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And we're like, come along to BNI because we can give you so much information as members and experience and all the rest of it. And it's propelled her through, and she's learnt stuff from other members and had feedback and all the rest of it. And honestly, she's totally set for life with her business because she's got the sales, she's got systems in place, she had money put aside for the tax bill for year 2.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff that normally you don't think about.
Yeah.
All of that set up. So anybody new to business, please come along. We can just give you so much support.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And the referrals. But in saying that, you know, you might know your business quite well, but actually you just like, I just need some better referrals. And we say to everybody, you know, I hate the phrase, how busy are you? Everybody puts their hands up, right? And I say, nah, but are you too busy for a quality referral?
Never,
right?
Right? Never.
You always make time to catch up with somebody that's a quality referral.
Yeah, good point.
You know, that are in the mood, they've possibly got the budget, all the rest of it.
Yes. Yeah.
I will have a coffee with you, or I'll have a phone chat, or a Zoom call, or let me go and have a look at what you've got.
Yeah.
And you are more likely to get that business, and they're more likely to be a better quality client than some of the others. And you know, running a business, you want to get rid of your bottom 10% that are dragging you down and work on more of the top 10.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So I always say, look, if you want a better quality referral, come visit BNI.
Yeah, good call. I like it. Very good.
Can never have too many.
You're quite a good presenter / speaker. Have you always been working on that, or is that where does that come from? Where does that skill come from?
Well, anybody that knows me says that I talk too much, and my 6-year-old daughter's exactly the same. I have been in sales for a lot of my life, and then got made redundant from one job. We'll put it this way, they were going to move me to Auckland and pay me the same. And I was like, no. You're joking. So found a new job and was doing quite high-end sales, and for that I had to learn how to have that conversation with people.
Yeah.
And be willing to walk into a boardroom where there's 5 people and go, right, now I'm presenting this and all the rest of it. And then at about the same time, that's when I joined BNI. So that forced you to have to think about what you were going to say and how you were going to present. You know, I'm notorious for waving my arms around because it's expression. But back when we used to do face-to-face training, I used to practice that stuff in the lounge and in the kitchen and record myself and all the rest of it. And it just comes with practice. And I've spoken to enough rooms of people of 200 people now to just stand up and say what I need to say. And there was one experience where we had a big BNI breakfast. So we get, you know, majority of the BNI members in a big space together. And we had practiced the night before with a video audio clip that was going to be part of what I was going to talk about. And practiced it, worked smoothly, it all worked, you know. On the morning, I get there at 5 o'clock and we practice it again and all tickety-boo. Come 7:30 when the room's full of people and I get up there to do it. the video and audio were out of whack. Right?
Classic.
And it's like a 90-second video, and I'm like, okay, and you know within the first 10 seconds, this has not gone well. And so we let it play, and then I get up on stage and go, well, as you know, I do technology in my job, but this one is a fail. So I'm just going to tell you now, and it was just the honesty to say it. So I've got better at doing it. Turns out my grandma, which I didn't get to know very well, was a wordsmith.
Oh.
So thinking about the words and speaking in a way that is Joe Bloggs understands. So I try really hard not to use acronyms. And that came about because somebody had said to me once, we were talking in a room, and somebody said, oh, FY, something like that. And somebody's like, what is FY? We're like, a financial year. And it was like, oh, yeah, okay. So in every day we use acronyms, and BNI are very good at using lots of them, is thinking about what does that actually mean? So explaining it in a way. And I think every industry can benefit from actually not doing that. So whether it's a new quote, whether you're chatting to somebody, explain what it is. It's not that the other person's stupid. They just don't know your lingo.
Correct.
Because it's unique to your industry. So slowing down and thinking about that makes you use probably a smaller vocabulary, but one that more people can get across.
Clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really hard, even when you're writing in an email. Think about what you're saying, and this has to be something that grandma can understand.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. I just am interested in communication, whether it's verbal, whether it's video, whether it's written, you know. I'm just interested, and I find like podcasting is yet another medium, right?
Totally.
It's another way to communicate with people at scale.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I think for having attention or having a concerted effort or a focus on it, I think that's the first step. And so for me, I'm just trying to get better. And podcasting helps, BNI helps. It all helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
One-to-one conversations, they all help.
Just leveling up.
Yeah.
It's saying, what can I do to make this better for me for next time?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like it. Cool. Okay. Anything else to add on BNI? Have I missed anything that's hugely relevant?
It can be really beneficial for people as individuals to grow their own, as I said, credibility, their understanding how their business operates. That's kind of a side one, as we subliminally force you to have a think about your business and how the people around the table can be educated as to what you're looking for. So it's not about selling to the people around the table. Naturally, that will probably happen with one or two people, but you want them to put their listening ears on. Anyone who's a parent will say, John, put your listening ears on, and listen to what the people around the table are saying, so that you then, as you go about your day, go, oh, connection, oh, and then away you go. And that's why weekly works really well, because it kind of brings it back to the fore again. So if everybody's doing that and putting their listening ears on, helps everybody.
Good call. Good reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people do it where they take the business card of the person who did the feature presentation for that week and take that business card and leave it on their dashboard or on their desk or something where they see it, so that it's a visual reminder for the week to really think about what that person said and see what you can do to focus to find a referral for that person.
Yeah, I like it. And the app's really good. That's really easy to use.
Yeah, so back in the day we used to do paper slips.
I remember those, yeah, the triplicate.
So doing that as a VP used to be the world's worst job. But yeah, the app's really good. So you can record the information. You can go on there and say, hey, David, I've got to put it in the system. Pull up David, send the information. You then contact the person. You can then click whether it was a good, bad, not referral. All of that stuff is in there, and we give you all the training on how to use the app. There's extra training available. So Ivan Meisner does a podcast once a week, and there's 700. I've lost track of how many there are on all slightly different subject matters. There's those you can listen to. There's online training, and a lot of it is to do with business. I was doing one the other day, and it talked about all millennials and baby boomers and all the rest of it, how they are in a work environment and what they need to feel the love and what they don't like and all the rest of it. I thought, that's great. That's just a good reminder that those people need this and those people need something else.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's lots of business tips in there and just things you can apply to your everyday life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of free, good information.
Totally. Yeah, I like it. Is that story, have you heard that story? It may or may not be real. It's about the light bulb salesperson that joined a BNI chapter?
No,
Might
tell
be a
me.
fictitious.
Tell me about
I'm going to
that
butcher
story.
the story, by the way, just the
Go for it.
disclaimer. But essentially, this guy that sells like light bulbs joins a group and shows up, contributes, gives, and then because he's in such a niche category, he sells like light bulbs, but not just any light bulbs. It's for some factories or some large facilities, and so he just shows up and like year after year contributes, maybe gets a little bit of referral action here and there, but it takes years to get this ginormous contract that lands him some multi-million-dollar deal, right?
It could be possible. I've personally not heard about it.
I guess the point is though that it's like a gym membership, that sometimes when you're showing up and you're doing the work, you're doing the reps, it does take sometimes a lot longer for
and that's
the
what it
benefit
depends
to happen,
what
right?
you're selling and what you're trying to get in front of.
Yeah.
So I'll say most of the builders that join go, look, if I don't get a referral for the first 2 years, it's fine because whatever.
Yes.
But then suddenly if they get, $1 million house to build or 2 million or whatever the current price is to build one, then that pays for itself.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that story is good and why I reflect back on it is that instead of thinking granularly, if that's a word, probably not.
Yeah, it'll do.
If you think of it like weekly, monthly, or even annually, you may not get something in the first year.
No.
But if you get a great client in year 3 and your average sales $1 million,
yeah, right.
it's all good.
No brainer.
Totally.
No brainer. The builder that joined my chapter, Kinesis, when I was a member, he joined, and then literally 4 months later, I was like, I need to do an extension on a house. So got him to do a quote. He did the extension, and that was, I don't know, $250,000, 300 grand or something like that. And he's like, well, sweet, that's paid for my membership.
Yeah.
And then, 3 months later we had the quakes, and guess who has the job of fixing it all? That turned into more because they had to live in the whole house and all the rest of it. So he probably got $800,000 from me like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it happens, and we've seen so many success stories of how somebody's just got their dream referral.
Yes.
The carpet guy in your group this morning who said,
right,
who always brings up that same story of this referral, and it happened, and those things are absolutely amazing when they happen, and we love those stories. There's a guy that I remember years ago who was really nervous about public speaking, and he came along to BNI and he was really worried about it, and he'd always practice it, and then eventually we put him in his education coordinator. It's like, this should be interesting, and he just got better and better with his public speaking. And then probably a year later he said to the group, and I was there at the time, he goes, I'm getting married in a couple of weeks, you guys know that. I now feel confident enough to do my wedding speech.
Wow.
And we're all like, that's pretty good. Wipe the tears, like we were part of that.
Yes.
So
That's
stuff, I love those stories. There's so many that I can talk about, but that one, there's a couple that stick in my mind.
Wow, that's great.
To help this young guy get over his nervousness of public speaking.
Yeah, it's a good reminder as well to take that opportunity if it comes along.
Oh, why not?
To stretch and to take a role in the leadership team if possible.
Yes. So the leadership teams change every 6 months. And the idea behind that is we don't end up with a dictatorship. And it gives everybody a chance to increase their visibility because they have to put a little bit of work in, and it comes back in spades. Absolutely.
Totally. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the education coordinator was away the other day, and I got asked with a few minutes notice to do it. And,
you did.
And I said yes, and it was such a good opportunity.
Yep.
Loved it. Fearful, but great.
Yeah.
And it's just
you need a little bit of fear every time.
You do need a bit of fear.
It's something I always think of is, even if you're doing a presentation, it's okay to feel a little bit nervous and a little bit of fear, because that's actually a really good thing. If you don't have that, then you're not doing the best that you can do. So it's okay, the night before, even I don't know, 13, 14 years later for me doing this, even now I think if I'm doing a feature presentation, the night before I'm like, okay, have I got all my ducks in the row yet? What am I talking about? Where's my notes? Wake up in the morning and go, okay, game on. Like, you just up your game a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've done these presentations time and time and time again. I try and mix up what the subject matter is, but I'm like, these people don't know what I was meant to say. So if I make a mistake,
That's right.
They don't know.
Exactly.
If I miss something out, they don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't know what I was meant to say, so don't worry about it.
That's right. When are the big breakfasts? Are they still a thing?
Yeah, so we're doing them about every 2 years because there's a lot of logistics involved in that.
Yeah.
So we used to do it annually, and then COVID put a squash on that. And then, ironically, one of the last ones we had was about we had it on the Friday, and then on the Monday that we did second lockdown, I was like, ooh, okay. Got away with that. So, we're looking at having them every second year.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's where we encourage all the members to attend on one particular day at a venue that holds, 250, something like that.
Yeah.
And mix and match the seating plan. So you're sitting to somebody that's not on your part of your group, and hopefully a different sphere. And there's even as far as going, okay, we think that person from that chapter and that one from that one should be on the same table together.
Yeah.
So we try and manipulate it a little bit. And then we have a couple of guest speakers or something come along, and we've had people like Sophie Pascoe come and have a chat and tell her story. I remember that she brought a gold medal, so that was cool. So through to who did we have at the last one? I can't remember, but we've had so many cool people come along and talk to stuff, and that's just an added bonus.
Yeah, nice.
I think there's whispers of a gala event in September.
Cool.
So that'll be a fundraiser for Nurse Board Hospice, which is BNI Canterbury's charity of choice. And coming up, we're going to be brewing beer, malts for Maud. So one of our members in BNI has a brewing facility, Brew Academy. So this will be the third year we'll be doing it, and members get a chance to come along and brew beer, and then we have Karma kegs in various locations.
Right.
So there's a lot of the stuff that gives back.
Yes, cool.
And as you said earlier, being part of the community.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It is, right?
Really good. Nice podcast. I like this. Yeah, when did I reach out to you? It was, I guess, soon after joining, and I had a few people that had asked about BNI, and I was like, well, who better to, get on the podcast than
I
yourself?
haven't got my tattoo yet.
The BNI tattoo?
Yeah, no.
Is it coming, or?
I don't know. You think after this long, though.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you.
No, thank you for being part of it.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great to be back involved. I really like what you said through that podcast. It's really reaffirmed my decision. So
absolutely. And if anybody wants to come and visit, then obviously they can get in contact with you.
Yeah.
Look me up. If you look up Alison Poulter, I am under the first 20 results on Google. And we can just tee you up with a visit to a chapter.
Yeah.
And nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Totally. That's really good. Really helpful. Really practical next steps. So
yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Thank you once again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see you back in the next episode.